Hands-free highway driving, a premium sound system, and ventilated seats are features you would commonly associate with a luxury car. Except a base Cadillac Lyriq has none of those features, and this loaded up Bolt EUV Premier has all of them. So what's going on here? So first and foremost, what exactly is the Chevy Bolt EUV? Well, the EUV came out as a 2022 model year car, and the EUV is based on the exact same platform as the regular Chevy Bolt EV hatchback, except the Bolt EUV is about 6 inches longer. So this car measures in at 169.5 inches long. Given that the EUV is a little larger than the EV sibling, this one is a little heavier, so it weighs around 3,700 pounds. But the thing is, the powertrain stays the same. So we get the same 65 kilowatt hour battery pack as the regular Bolt EV, and we get the same 200 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque electric motor mounted up front. The EUV is good for a range of 247 miles, and when it comes time to charge the car, we have a peak DC charging rate of 50 kilowatts, which is pretty low for these days, and it can charge up to 11.5 kilowatts on AC. As for trim levels, Chevy offered the EUV in two main trims. You have the LT and Premier. So on the LT, it's pretty bare bones. You get manual cloth seats, and you don't really get a lot of other amenities. So there's no adaptive cruise control, no sunroof, or anything like that. It is simply transportation to get you from point A to point B. Then there's the LT with convenience package. So this is still an LT model, but then you get nicer looking wheels and you get leather ventilated seats among a few other options. So if you want something that's a little more premium, then you can get the LT with convenience package. Then the big trim difference is going to the Premier. So the Premier, you get adaptive cruise control, you get the same leather ventilated seats, and you get a bunch of other cool amenities like a 360-degree camera. Then once you have the Premier configured, you can also get a few other packages like the Sun and Sound package. So this was around $2,500 when the car was new, and then you get a power opening sunroof and a 7-speaker Bose audio system. There's also the Super Cruise package, which this one has, and Super Cruise allows for lane centering and adaptive cruise control. And what's really cool about Super Cruise is you can actually take your hands off the wheel on the highway and the car will center itself in the lane, and it won't require you to put your hands on as long as you're looking forward. If you don't really care about options, the LT should suffice. But if you crave some of these luxury amenities, you should really spring for a Premier with the Sun and Sound and Super Cruise package. But before we get ahead of ourselves, you may notice that the Bolt EUV is no longer in production. So this car debuted as a 2022 model year, and then it was axed as a 2023 model year to make way for the Ultium product. So that's like the Chevy Blazer EV and the Equinox EV. Chevy will be bringing back the Bolt nameplate very soon as an Ultium product, but for now, if you want a Bolt, you gotta find one used. And the good news is there's pretty good deals going around. If you would prefer a older regular Chevy Bolt, you can find plenty of options for under $15,000. But if you're looking for a spicier Chevy Bolt, like this one right here, the Bolt EUV Premier with all the options, including the Sun and Sound package and Super Cruise, you'll be looking more around the $20,000 range. Now, the $4,000 EV tax credit is still available at the time of filming, but it will be going away on September 30th. So if you're interested in finding one that qualifies for the tax credit, the sooner is better. But even without the tax credit, these things are pretty affordable. So this one right here is priced at around $23,000 with just 30,000 miles on the odometer. And here's what you get. Starting off with the exterior, you'll notice that there's a decent amount of chrome trim on this. So you get chrome door handles and this chrome trim along the lower portion of the car. This particular EUV Premier comes with these darked out 17-inch alloy wheels. It's important to note that every Bolt EUV will come with 17-inch alloys, though the designs change based on trim level. Around back, we get a small Premier logo off to the right side of the car, and underneath the third brake light, we actually get a camera. Now, this camera is for the digital rear view mirror. So when you have the mirror, you pull back on a little lever, and then it turns into a camera to see the cars behind you. That's pretty cool. Now, when it comes time to open the liftgate, you pull down here, and it's a manual opening procedure. Now, despite this being the crossover version of the Bolt, we actually get less interior cargo space than the regular Bolt EV. So this is 16.3 cubic feet, and the regular Bolt is 16.6 cubic feet. But all the space goes to the second row, which we'll look at in a second. However, we do still have a lower load floor area that we pull up here, and we got some additional space down below. To get in the EUV, we have a normal mechanical door handle. So we simply pull here and open up the door. When you get situated into the second row, you'll first notice a few things. First off, yeah, these seats are blue. That's kind of weird, but they are perforated and they feel relatively nice and they're somewhat comfortable. So no complaints there. And then the other thing is there's actually a decent amount of space back here. So the regular Bolt EV can be a little cramped in the back, but most of that additional length goes to the second row seat space. And it works. There's a lot of space back here. The floor is completely flat, just like the regular Bolt EV. And there's a good amount of leg room too. It's honestly quite comfortable. To further improve comfort, the outboard seats are heated, and we get a center armrest with 2 cup holders and a USB-C port and a USB-A port. We get a rear seat back pocket only on the passenger seat, which is weird. And even weirder is that there are no AC vents back here. So yes, there are vents on the floor, but there's no vents within reach. That's a little odd. And moving up front, the interior experience gets even better. So first off, we get Bose audio system. So the 7-speaker Bose system, and it's pretty good. It has a good amount of bass, but I think some audiophiles will prefer other sound systems out there, but I think for the casual listener, it's pretty decent. Second off, the driver's seat is power operated. That's a first in a Chevy Bolt product. And both the driver and passenger seats are heated and ventilated. So typically in a car like this, with this dark leather material on a summer day, you'd be sweating like a crypto bro during tax season. But with the ventilation, you're fine. There's also a bunch of other nice amenities up front, like a heated steering wheel, a USB-C port, USB-A port, a wireless phone charger, 2 cup holders, and access to this nice panoramic opening glass sunroof. And for an entry-level GM product, the materials are actually pretty okay. So we have a rubberized dashboard and some materials here and there that feel pretty all right. Now, there's still a lot of plastic here and there, and we get this piano black material, which I'm sure will get lots of fingerprints. But overall, for an entry-level GM, I'm not that disappointed. I've definitely felt worse interiors before, particularly on some even more expensive cars like the 2024 Hyundai Ioniq 5 SEL. For instance, that car's entire rear door panel is all plastic, no soft touch at all. So the features are generally good, but what about the software? So honestly, this is where the Bolt EUV actually kind of shines. This isn't the most avant-garde EV out there. Obviously, the Tesla Model 3, Rivian R1S, all those cars offer far better software, but the Bolt EUV actually does a pretty good job. Starting off with the tech, we have our gauge cluster right here. So this is all digital, and right here we can see our range. So off to the left of the screen, we have our range. Right now we're at 30 miles. We need to charge soon. But we also have our maximum and minimum. So if we drive really aggressively, we'll get more towards that 24-mile mark. But if we drive nicely, we'll get to that 35. To the right, we have our power gauge. So whenever we accelerate, we can instantaneously see how much power we're pushing out of the car's battery pack. And if we regen, we can actually see how much regen we're taking in. This is slightly customizable. So if you use this option menu right here, we can actually see other stuff. So we can see our speed limit, our driver assistance features, our tire pressure, and our average speed. Now, if you press to the left here, we can actually customize the screen even more. So if we go down to here, we can actually go to the modern view, which looks a little bit more clean, or the enhanced. I prefer the enhanced. And we have this camera right here, which is only for Super Cruise enabled Chevy Bolts. And this is the camera that will track our face to make sure we are looking at the road. We also have this ring light up there, and that ring light will turn on whenever we are on a highway that has been mapped for Chevy Super Cruise. Now, migrating over to the center display, things get, well, a little less exciting. So this car does everything you pretty much want it to do. So you can have Sirius XM, or you can connect your phone through Bluetooth. We have a built-in navigation menu. So say we want to go to San Diego, We click on that icon and we press go. The map is relatively responsive. However, there is one major issue. There is no EV route planning. So we have the directions to get down to San Diego, except we probably can't get there on a full charge because we have 30 miles of range and 499 to go. That's not cool. What is cool, however, is this little energy display. So we can actually see the instantaneous energy flow of power coming in or exiting the battery pack. That's nice. And we have a lot of charging options. So we can set a charging limit. So say we want to charge to around 85–90%. We can do that right there very easily. We can also see our lifetime energy efficiency, and right now we're looking at 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour, which is honestly really efficient driving. The Bolt EUV tends to be a pretty efficient car, and 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour is certainly a great number. We can see how much energy is lost to climate settings and other stuff like driving or accessories. Overall, there's a decent amount of information here, and I think Chevy has done a pretty good job with it. There's also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that work wirelessly, so if you want to do your own route planning and stuff like that, you are more than welcome to. This system kind of offers the bare necessities that you need, but there's definitely nothing over the top or exciting about this infotainment. I think it will work for a lot of people though. Now, right below the center display is our climate control menu, and this is super intuitive and easy to use. So if we want to do our ventilated seats, just pull down on there. If we want to change the fan speed, just press up right there. Super easy and intuitive. Down low is our drive selector. So pull up for drive, press there for neutral, pull up for reverse, and press in for park. Super easy to use. Sport mode is right there. Now we've enabled sport mode, and traction control is right there. So now we've disabled traction control. For people who want a simple and intuitive car to use, Chevy really delivers that. And now we can focus on charging. So our charge port is located right up here, and this one happens to have the optional illuminated charge port option, which looks pretty cool by the way. And we have our DC charging port down there. So this car only has a peak DC charging rate of 50 kilowatts, which is not very high. That means it takes over an hour to go from 10 to 80%. And by the way, you actually don't know the percent state of charge of the car because Chevy just gives you that little gauge display. So if you have a Bolt EUV, you really won't know what percent your car's at. You'll just have a decent idea just looking at those battery bars. Regardless, the Bolt's range is pretty solid at 247 miles, so you can go pretty far before you will need to make that charging stop if you happen to take this car on a road trip. When I had my Chevy Bolt EV, I took it on a few road trips, though I needed to plan them out a little while beforehand because the range is fine, you can get to the charging station, but you will need to wait a while. So if you can plan your charging stop during a lunch break or something like that, it can actually work perfectly fine. Most Chevy Bolt owners tend to charge at home, and in that circumstance, it works out great. You have plenty of range for in-city driving at 247 miles, and if you have 80 or 90% of that range ready for you every morning, this car is a really great option. All right, we are now driving the Bolt EUV Premier. So, first things first, this car is pretty much what you'd expect. It's very maneuverable in the city. There's also a highway patrol car over there, and thankfully I put on a license plate, so we are all good. So we have that optional one pedal driving mode, and when we have that enabled, this is very smooth, and through the city, I don't really have to use the brake pedal at all. It honestly works quite well. We get great visibility all around, and the one really cool feature is that digital rear view mirror. So if you look up here, we can actually see everything behind us. So if we have a lot of luggage in the back seat, we can press that button and have a crisp view behind us. In terms of the overall ride quality, it's pretty decent in here, nothing too notable. So you get some cabin noise. It's kind of what you'd expect from an entry-level Chevy product, but it's not bad either. In terms of the accelerator feel, we do have 200 horsepower on tap, but this is front-wheel drive, so we do get some tire spin whenever we do accelerate. Right now, throwing it into sport mode and giving this some acceleration, it's fine. It's not that exciting, but it's totally sufficient for city driving. Chevy says this can do 0 to 60 in around 6.5 seconds, which is pretty solid. There's definitely faster EVs out there, but I don't think you need anything faster for the city. And as a final note, this is just a very nice car to drive through the city. So we have a pretty good turning radius, and the one pedal driving is very smooth. So I have barely used the brake this entire drive, and even if I start inching forward, it seems to be pretty smooth. Some one pedal driving systems out there, particularly with some Stellantis products, can be a little jerky. This car's a little rough around the edges, but overall it's pretty good. I think if you're looking for a nice commuter car, the Bolt EUV should definitely suffice. In terms of autonomous driving functionalities, the Premier comes as standard with blind spot monitor, the digital rear view mirror, a 360 camera, and adaptive cruise control. But if you want the car to drive itself on the highway, or at least just offer lane centering, then you really need to get the Super Cruise package. With Super Cruise, the car will steer itself on the highway, and you can take your hands off the wheel and just look forward, and the car will continue driving for you. However, Super Cruise does not work on every highway, so if you want to see which ones work, check out Chevrolet's website to see which roads are Super Cruise compatible. But overall, the Premier comes with a good array of standard safety features, though if you want to increase that, you gotta get the Super Cruise package. So now, which trim of the EUV do we recommend? Well, if you want something really basic, you just want transportation, the EUV LT is perfectly fine. But if you want something a little bit nicer, we really recommend getting an LT with the convenience package or getting a Premier. And then if you want the hands-free highway driving, it's good to find one with that Super Cruise package. And if you do like a good sound system, then you got to get a Premier with the Sun and Sound package. The good thing is these prices are pretty affordable nowadays, so you can find used models easily for under $25,000 with all the options. This one right here is priced at $23,000, and it has basically every single option in the book. And is the Chevy Bolt EUV the perfect EV? Definitely not, but it has a lot to offer. It's got good range, lots of practicality, and plenty of tech amenities if you get a loaded up Premier like this one. If you're looking for a solid commuter EV, the Bolt EUV should definitely be on your list.